Hi, everybody. Welcome to Family DynamiKs. I'm Katherine.
I'm Ed.
And John.
So today we're going to get into, the three of us, our unique dynamic. Just sort of growing up together. John, you were mostly little and I was out of the house.
The three legs of the tripod. Just kidding. We're not going to talk about that movie.
Wait, what movie? What are you talking about?
One of your favorite movies.
What?
The Girl Next Door.
Oh my
With the AV geek. Who's your favorite?
I do not recall this at all. This was a very...
Oh, this is a perfect dynamic. Classic Katherine. Can't remember something that
How
she does indeed. No.
dare you? Oh my God. You know...
Let us give you the entire plot, and then you'll remember.
Yeah, well, I mean, John, one of our dynamics is he likes to correct me on things and call out when I can't remember things, so...
Well, sadly, that's somehow everyone's dynamic with you. You're
No,
just
that's
too
true.
nice. I don't know what the deal is.
It's so funny. I would never think of myself as particularly nice. But, I mean, maybe I am. I don't know. But you're right. For sure, with my husband and daughter, that is one of their running bits of like, Mom can't remember anything. I'm like, oh, I mean, I can't remember some stuff.
Well, that's what you have family for, so that they can remember for you. And
Yeah.
then tell you how wrong your version of the story was.
Well, hopefully we at least have some of the details right. Sometimes I think Liz is the queen of saying like, well, I might have like changed the details a bit, but...
This is a little bit late, but this is an intervention, Katherine. Just kidding.
I should start keeping a journal so that I can prove that I remember things correctly.
You can always remember some of the things that happened that day or last week.
Well, and also apparently all movies in the 90s. I mean, except for what did you just say? What
But
movie?
that was not in the 90s. That's the
That's
problem.
why. So I don't know. Okay, so I thought what would be interesting to talk about is just I know I'm your older sister, but I don't really think of myself that way, which is weird to say. I don't know what that means, but I don't go around like, I'm an older sister. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm just Katherine. I'm just doing my own whatever thing. And there's these other siblings of mine and it's weird, but.
They're fine, but they don't need me. I don't need to be their older sister. They got their own thing.
I think I don't know, you made that transition from when you were younger and we were way younger to then like, oh, well, we're all adults now, so we can all just be adults together.
Yeah, almost like that whole thing of like, you almost feel like you're the same age as somebody, even if you're not. I don't know. It's definitely that strange thing of like me not realizing that as an older sibling, I might have responsibilities or like, I don't know, my opinion might matter. I don't think of it that way. I don't know. But it does remind me of just growing up and being basically already out of the house is when my main memories start of you guys existing in the world, which is,
You were out from under our parents' purview, and you got to pick your own activities.
I got to do whatever I wanted. I mean, I don't really have super clear memories of living in the house with you guys. I mean, John, for sure, you were little baby. I remember that. And then Ed, I remember just the cutest freaking toddler ever. I mean, like with the blonde curls and then later the glasses and a couple family trips. I remember those.
Yeah, and then the rest of my life happened, so that's over.
Well, and he was living in a closet, so who cares,
Oh,
right?
God, the closet.
Full on Harry Potter mode with the glasses and like crossed eyes, but not like the scar on my... Yeah, I had some stuff going on. It was good. JK, I think you owe me something.
Oh, I don't think she was pulling off of your life as inspiration, but maybe, I don't know. But you did live in a closet. There's in our parents' house, there was an oversized closet and there was a toddler bed.
It was a wardrobe is what, like the size of closet that you might be thinking of.
Like a double-sized closet.
Like big enough to be 4 feet deep. It was actually pretty good.
Well, not
depth.
like, I don't want people to think this is very
Not
important
a full
that we get
walk-in.
really detailed on this. Not a walk-in closet.
Right.
So it was standard closet depth, but twice as long. But a little toddler bed fit in there super perfectly. So it was like your little nook bedroom in there.
So it wasn't a walk-in closet.
Was that like a Christopher Walken?
I like Christopher Walken.
Now I got it.
I mean, it was really good. You know, we could.
You loved it.
I did. I think it was really, really super great. Okay, so I went away to college at some point, and John was still very little. I remember on my bulletin board in my dorm room, freshman year, I had pictures of John all little with his cowboy boots. That was that cowboy boot phase where Liz had given John these plastic cowboy boots.
No, they weren't plastic cowboy boots. They were legit full leather. I mean, they're small, so you could afford a full leather cowboy boot in size 4. Didn't cost that much. She's like, no, these are awesome. I'm getting these for John.
Yeah,
he's going to look great.
So Liz gets him these cowboy boots, and he proceeds to kick everybody in the shins with them. But I had some picture up on my wall in the dorm room with these super cute cowboy boots, and I forget what else. I had like 4 or 5 pictures.
That seems like too many, but keep going. To something else, I mean, but sure.
And in college, no one saw those pictures and said, "Oh, are you a single mom?"
Oh, no. I mean, I guess that they could have thought that. I was, no one seemed to think that was what was going on with me. So, no one thought I was your mother. Although that would have been a great, like, soap opera plot, be like, I've gone off to college. This is my little brother that I've left at home, but really it's my son. Okay. Anyway.
We had a big enough family that kind of terrible drama could have totally worked out, timing-wise. There's plenty of movies where 17-year-olds are like, we're going to have to hide this baby.
Well, for sure. I mean, I think Liz has said this, that was like her weird fantasy crazy story of like, I thought people were going to think he was mine. No one did.
And for sure, there are way too many after-school stories of teen pregnancies that Liz was being privy to. That she's uh-oh, someone's going to put the math together.
They're going to totally think that it's hers. No. So yeah, it's, I went away to school, and gosh, John, you must have been, I don't know. What?
Sorry. You went away to school in Culver City.
I went to Loyola Marymount, which is it's so funny. At the time, it seemed so far. I wanted to be far enough away that it made sense that I lived there, but I also didn't have a car, so it might as well have been a different state.
It feels like it. Plus, also, like, the speed limit was like 50 back then, so it would taken 3 hours.
Yeah, so for anybody who's not a Los Angeles person, it's not really that far from where we grew up.
You were maybe 20 miles, maybe 25.
Yeah.
Maybe 18.
I really did think of it as like, this is far enough. This is perfect. There's no way I could commute here.
I can't come home and do laundry over the weekend.
Which, ridiculously, then I, of course, worked at places where I had to drive much farther than that, But at the time, it was like, oh, this would be ridiculous. You can't commute here. Oh, God.
3 years later, twice that length and commute there and back every day.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a job.
Good Lord. So I do have a very clear memory of before Ed, before I did my sibling sabotage senior project, I came over and picked you up to go out to movies. We specifically, because there was a little bit of Shakespeare in this little pilot that I did for my senior project, and I thought it would be really fun to take Ed as, like, you must have been like 9, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. How old were you, do you think?
Well, let's see. You were...
Don't say my age. How dare you?
An age. Then you went forward in age. I'm going to say I was 10, 11 in your junior-ish year.
Yes. Well, so this...
Like, just old enough to enjoy going to a movie. And I feel like, I'm sure you'll get to this point, that there was an introduction to the reason why we went to the movies, because you were on the radio and you had a movie review show, and we got to go see screenings of things for free, which was the most amazingness. The only one that I actually remember was Cheetah, some animal that survived that, like, we shouldn't have this wild animal in our house, but we're in the safari. It's fine. Something along those lines. And maybe The Rescuers Down Under, I think we got to go see a screening of.
Wow, okay.
That was a big deal. I don't remember that at all, but I know that it happened.
Yeah, it was a free movie screening, and we don't have to pay. This is like going to the movie premiere. No, it was just a screening in Westwood or something like that.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Look, we have said that I don't have the greatest memory. I do not recall this at all.
You don't remember doing a radio movie review show
That
for
I do
college?
remember.
Okay, right.
That was called
Taking people with you to the movies now.
Well, the specific movies that you're bringing up, I don't remember. But it does seem like something I would have done. Okay, let me just say, the radio show was called Cinema Cynics, and I did it with my roommate, David Peterson, and we did it at KXLU, which was the campus radio station, and it was very cool because we legitimately got to go to tons of screenings and then talk
You're
about
a real
movies.
journalist.
Well, I mean, we did.
A news radio journalist.
We were probably more critical than necessary, being the Cinema
You were
Cynics.
cynical.
I do remember that from that time period that there was a solid 10-year block of like, well, don't talk to Katherine about any TV or movie show. She will be very cynical and have a very negative opinion about it. It is tough.
More just being like critical. I don't know if
that's what it was. It was like, you have to be aware that if you come into this like, oh, I saw this movie, I loved it. Criticism immediately. Critical.
But what about this? But what about that? Huh, that plot point didn't even work.
You're like,
Blah, 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 blah.
Missed all of the things that you just mentioned. I was
I
eating
just liked
popcorn
it.
and
Yeah.
enjoyed it. It was great.
Yeah, we went and I do remember taking you to see Henry VIII. Wasn't it?
Henry V.
Fifth? Eighth? Henry VIII is the actual, and he killed a bunch of his wives. Right.
Yeah,
That's
not that
that's a
dude.
different.
I'm not sure they've made a movie about him yet, but Netflix with The Crown, what are you doing? Get on that.
Yeah,
Let's have a whole series about Henry VIII.
I'm sure it's probably in production somewhere. I mean,
Henry
pre-production.
VIII is covered pretty well. they do that.
Oh, good. That's right. I don't watch historical dramas. I do not associate it with this specific memory, but we saw more than one Henry V. We saw Kenneth Branagh's Henry V, which like is what I tried to intone when I was doing my speech from Henry V in your play. I don't know if I got it. I was
pilot.
13.
It wasn't a play. How dare you?
Whatever. It felt like a play. But you're right. It was a pilot that never aired. For college, it was your college project.
It was my college project.
Everyone
right.
in college in your class saw it. It did screen at that screening. Was it projected like on a really big screen?
It was, yes, I believe so.
That
Yeah.
seems ridiculous.
Well, they had a theater, so I don't know. I don't remember how they did it, but everybody came. The whole family came. It was very cute.
That might be my only vague memory of this whole situation.
Yeah, you don't remember
I don't
shooting
remember
it at all?
shooting it, but I quasi remember the theater.
Oh my God,
I
that's so
remember
funny.
about it. Yeah. I was going to say the other screening of Henry V that we saw was Sir Laurence Olivier's. And
Yeah, we actually
lasted all
left.
40 minutes
Yeah,
of that.
it
It's
was-
very specific to that time period, very specific Shakespearean performance, like stage level, but not the last 20 years of stage, like 1960s stage level.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. I mean, it probably is one of the only things I've ever walked out on. I am very, I will stay forever. Oh my God, you guys know this about Eric, but my husband Eric, he'll go to a movie, he will fall asleep, he will leave. It's hilarious. He just has no concern about how is this going to work out? I absolutely, with the exception of that one movie, need to stay and all the way through. What is going to happen? How are you going to, how successful of a job have you done of telling the story, whatever. Eric, not that engaged.
Well, it's also
regardless.
a great payoff for there's substantially less crowd on the way out if you wait till the credits are over. And also the parking lot's way easier to get out of if all those dinguses have driven out of there already.
But
It's
look,
great.
if you just walk out in the middle, there's also nobody to worry about because no one is trying to leave at
true.
the same time as you. He's just I could be going to get, you don't know, I could be going to get popcorn. I'm leaving. Goodbye.
I semi-remember seeing that in Westwood. I just don't remember if it was a specific super small theater because there's a couple of really small theaters in Westwood that we could have seen that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Shakespeare from whenever that was from.
Or Santa Monica. I feel like it might have been Santa Monica at the Monica in Santa Monica.
Yeah,
I love saying
an
that. I
An art
remember.
house theater that's
Yeah,
got 6 screens, 2 of which, what are those movies?
Or two of which
or
are that is the size of a TV.
Is it Lemley? I don't have that.
Lemley.
Lemley. Okay. Yeah, I miss the Lemley theater, the art house flicks where you're that's the only place it's playing? at 5:30. I got to organize my entire Saturday around that now.
Yeah, just to get to that screening. Yeah, I do remember taking you out on little outings, and I think that was part of being part of a big family where definitely different individual relationships end up happening. Like you have a relationship with one person and you do this little thing with them, and then you have another relationship with a different person and you do this together. Like it's part of that whole big family dynamic that we talk about where not everybody has the same relationship.
And you don't always get like on the same schedule with everyone. We're all different ages. It's not like, between our ages being nearly 10, actually 10.
Is that right?
A little bit more than 10 years apart.
How dare you?
That we're both getting old. It's
we're
fine.
not. We're not.
You're right.
It's fine.
We're not
Everything's
getting
frozen.
old.
Go on.
The whole world is aging.
Nuh-uh.
And we're staying the same. That we're all at these different stages and ages in our life. So hanging out together isn't always like a lock-in. Like you're not going to be able to do all the things with the...
Yeah, for sure.
There was solid years where I'm unavailable to do things with all you guys. I have cross-country meets and out-of-town, invitationals I'm going to. That's entire Saturdays. Well, what did you guys do? We did cool stuff. We went to museums. Fine.
I don't think it went down like that.
It never
No,
went down
people
like
just
that. But
did their own
they
things,
also
for
didn't
sure,
go to the cross-country meets. So that's pretty cool. I don't know what they were doing, but I assumed it was cool stuff because I was doing my cool stuff.
Well, an aspect of our family is frequently you were getting a ride yourself somewhere. So it's not like your parent was bringing you, so then no one else was coming.
Yeah,
and
there's
no
a lot
one
of
was meeting you
solo.
there.
Yeah,
So
solo endeavors.
good luck with that. No one is coming.
Tell us how the game went.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
right.
had more like
Someone
you had
asked.
a game? Yeah, what? Oh, where were you today? Is more likely.
No, that is the strange thing. I think, there's an element, I'm sure will come up later, but, there was knowledge because it was like, well, you would need a ride later, and it was a slightly different time, so that got arranged. On the other hand, that was what got arranged. So yeah, I think there was knowledge, but it wasn't. We weren't all sitting at the dinner table like, oh, and how was your day? And you did this thing. So how? No, we didn't do that.
No. I mean, I do remember that I felt like it was important to take you out and do things with you specifically, like to have a relationship, to be like, oh, Ed, I can go and pick him up in my crappy car and go see a movie. So it was kind of like figuring out a thing that was cool for us to do.
Well, it was probably also, you were old enough to be able to do that, but then he was old enough for you to be able to take him to do that.
Yeah.
And, as opposed to your just younger sisters, like, well, I've already done a lot of stuff with them. I don't need to like specifically make a point of doing more stuff. It's like, well, this little guy is now big enough for me to do stuff with.
Yeah. And he might appreciate it.
And also, I feel like the nearest sibling I've got is a couple years apart. And they would have been babysitting at that time. They're busy. They got stuff to do. They could be hanging with you. I'm not available to hang out with you. I am 15. I have business to attend to.
Yeah, business, the family business of babysitting. Oh, that we have to get all the girls in to talk about the ridiculousness of babysitting. Oh my God.
You didn't pay taxes on it. It was all under the table. Who knows? Who knows what could be revealed in these conversations?
That's not really the angle I was going, but
no, it was just the number you actually did. Like between, I don't remember Liz on a babysitting tack much. Rosie, Virginia, and you for sure.
Oh, Liz did a lot of babysitting.
It felt like she was hanging out with her friends.
Oh, she was a busy social person even back then for sure. Okay, so yeah, and then I was going to say after college, because that would have been like, junior, senior year.
Sure.
The whole going to see movies and then shooting the senior project. And then after that, I moved to a different house, and I remember having a blue party, and really ingenious. The whole theme was it was blue, and we played Blue Velvet on the TV, like on a loop, I think. And I made cookies that had blue icing, and
obviously
we had blue punch.
You watched Blue Velvet before, and it was totally appropriate to invite John.
You were
and
there,
I
yes.
at our ages.
Wait, well, John, did you? I don't think you were there.
I did go there.
Yeah, you did. We spent the night.
You
We did not spend the night. I do remember it. Look, this was
Spent the night.
So now we've, I'm not quite as young. I'm not quite a baby anymore. So I do start to have memories of some of these things. so this is similar to many adult parties that you older siblings threw. That was like, oh, they're having a party.
I guess I'm going.
I'm there. It's at the house. Okay,
There
sure.
are snacks. This is the jam.
Yeah, and these people are nice to me, fine, but then it's at some point going to move on without me, and I don't know. I guess that didn't upset me. So anyway, so we go to this thing. Of course, I have very few memories of this. But
I remember Dad came. Did you guys come with Dad? Is
Yeah.
that what happened?
Yeah.
Sure.
He brought us. Sure.
John's like, well, I didn't drive, so I guess.
Yeah. All I was getting to is I remember being there. I remember it being very decorated and dark.
With blue, obviously.
I remember Blue Lagoon featuring heavily, like Creature from the Blue Lagoon.
What? I mean, maybe. I would have to,
All right.
again, this was with my roommate, David Peterson. I would have to reach out to him and be like, what do you recall about our
you have the
infamous
details
Blue
on
Party?
Blue Party.
I think my most important memory, and this could
Oh,
be
no.
wrong,
Uh-oh.
is eating something and then puking it up in
Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Cool.
sure John got
Hopefully-
sick of the Blue Party.
Not my cookies.
No, it was from some other food. What else would it have been?
Is the blue M&Ms or the blue guacamole or the
There
blue...
was not blue guacamole, was there? Ew,
Everything
gross.
looked blue. I couldn't
I
tell.
mean, I don't know what the hell we
Did
did.
you have blue cornflower chips?
We probably did. I mean, again, the details escape
I do
me.
remember it was not that, I don't know why, this is something as a child that seemed important, but then later you realize, oh yeah, well, sometimes at a big party, you're going to take the one of the gray, outside trash cans, and then you're just going to put it inside.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a great place to puke. But
Nailed it.
I was like, this is an outside trash can. Perfect. I don't know.
Oh, God.
And that's what you get when you invite your siblings to your house party.
Well,
is-
your very young siblings to your inappropriately older party. I don't know what the...
I mean, I've got a theory now.
nobody was
So-
making John do shots.
Well, no, that's where this is going. I mean, did you do blue Jello shots and I took one by accident or something weird?
I mean, they were probably unmonitored alcoholic
Though I do-
shots.
I-
I don't
or
remember.
just a blue punch that you were
That was
unaware
gross.
was not the punch you should be having,
love to-
or you were very risky and tried to have some.
No, who knows? I don't know. I love to have theories. I'm going to rescind this theory. That did not happen.
Yeah, I cannot confirm or deny the existence of Jello shots. So we can't even go down.
No, this didn't happen.
Okay, so perfect. Yeah, I mean, these are some of
It
my.
was mostly blue lighting. That's what I remember. It was
Really?
very well
Okay.
lit, even though it was dark. Blue isn't a very bright color. It wasn't like baby blue. It was like deep, dark, serious.
God, I'm impressed
dark
with our
blue party.
design style. I definitely want to talk to my friend and see what he remembers about it.
Well, I think that we should have another blue party.
Oh, well, okay.
It's also, dare I say this, it doesn't seem very nice, but it's, this was one party. So other people throw a lot of parties. And
I know. I don't
how
really
many-
know.
It was the 70s party. It was this party. It was that party. For us and for you, it's like there was the blue party.
I did the blue party. You guys remember when I did the blue party? And then I haven't done one since.
Well, I mean, does my wedding count as a party? Because you guys were both at my wedding, so that was a party.
Of course that counts. But on the other hand, it's different.
No, and then I did. I mean, just on
House party is really
No,
the
yeah.
distinction. That's
No.
the only house party I'm aware of in Catherine's adult life.
I think that's fairly accurate. I mean, I had kids' parties. Like when the kids were little, we would have birthday parties, but that's not really the same thing. I'm really stretching. I'm really trying
so
to.
many real close.
Although, for all the kids' parties you had, none of your kids were into what's the blue bear or dog, whatever that is. Isn't there some
Oh, I think it's just his name is Blue.
That's what I'm
It's
saying.
from
Yeah.
Blue's Clues.
Blue's Clues. Yeah, I was like, Blue. Isn't there a Blue? Isn't his name Blue? I don't know. My boy Blue. No, I don't know what it is. That's what it is. Great.
Blue.
Good job,
Yeah.
memory.
Blue's Clues. Yes. Well, I mean, that is probably why it's a significant memory for me because I really didn't have a lot of parties, and then
Well, it's so
you guys
successful.
being there, yeah.
Like you would have ruined the experience by
I wanted to
any-
leave it on a
What are you
high.
gonna do? A green party?
Come on, yellow.
Too political.
Come on. Yeah. So, anyway, those are some of. I mean, it's really ridiculous that those are some of my clearest memories. Like you guys being at my blue party. I felt so cool that I was having this party, and then I got married. Which is not even close together, but.
That's somewhat the results of having gotten married. you are married to someone who's not really a big partier. He's not known for throwing parties, so the two of you together have completely locked it down.
Yeah, there's not a lot of like high social activity required in our lifestyle.
But going backwards, I will say, I mean, in some ways, okay, like I mentioned, with parties would get thrown at our parents' house, but you did not, unfortunately, your leaders blazing the trail ahead of you weren't doing this. So you got to be the first one to like throw an adult party at your house.
Oh, that's true. You mean the older boys? No one else had. I mean, like, yeah, I'm the oldest of the siblings to have done that. But then,
Bam.
Quickly eclipsed by multiple parties.
Never eclipsed. I mean, have they ever even thrown a solid color, single color party?
I mean, it is an inspired theme, so I don't know why they wouldn't want to do that, but...
And you had like the movies picked out and the food picked out and the lighting picked out. It is a lot of work.
I can't even believe you're trying to say that, Creature from the Blue Lagoon was not involved. I'm totally right.
I mean, you could be. Yeah, it sounds absolutely like we would have done that. I think it was any movie with the blue in the title, but I'm only remembering.
One party on one movie on repeat.
Well,
sure.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I recall, but I am probably wrong.
I don't remember any movie playing back at all. I wasn't paying attention to that. There must have been like, a Domino's set somewhere or like, race cars on a track. I'm like, I'm going in there. I'm going to play with toys. Whatever. It's great. This is great.
Well, we might have also tried to keep you away because it sounded like none of those movies were appropriate for either of you guys.
If we were being really rude to Ed, we would say, well, you probably brought a hairdryer and were disassembling it, reassembling it.
Or found one and was just I brought tools with me just in case there was a broken piece of something with a magnet in it inside. I need that magnet. Magnets
An
are cool.
old telephone, something.
No, you were probably, I feel like this happened to me as well, but, you guys... The groups of friends or whatever, when we would be along, these young people, like, oh, your younger child siblings are going to be at this party. They were very good to us, so I'm sure you were probably just, socializing and like,
being entertained somewhere.
Older people are interested in me.
Just wandering around the party and socializing.
Oh
and
my God,
being
hilarious.
a ridiculously small person in a party full of 20-somethings.
Exactly. Whoops. I mean, I don't know. I do love that Dad came. That was very sweet and cute that he came and brought you guys.
But, like visiting anybody's place, as a kid, I was always interested in, what do you have that we don't have? What's the interesting thing that you got? I highly doubt that I got any access to your Amstrad, but I 100% remember that you had your own personal computer. There's only computer labs at my school where sometimes I get to do like the weird drawing program. What do you have? It totally had Turtle whatever, like Turtle Draw on that Amstrad. I didn't get to use it though.
Oh my God. I still have that in my garage. I'm sure it would not even boot up if we tried to like turn it on. But my memory of it was that I do.
I feel like I've seen that box.
We do have it.
I've always been like, is this a keyboard? What is this? And then I never read it, and then I move on. But it's a weird-looking box.
I know that this is not the right podcast for this, but we have another podcast that we do called What We Are Watching, and we were just talking about Antiques Roadshow. I wonder if that Amstrad from the 80s is worth anything.
Oh, God. I mean, it's weathered many, many hot valley summers in that garage.
Your garage, your garage now, as I'm sure backwards compatible, all of your garages have been, has a fan that turns on at 100 degrees. So it's fine. More importantly, my question now is, I feel like you were in a house, right? It was not an apartment.
Yes, it was a house that we...
Good, check, done with subject.
Yeah. So my roommate, David Peterson, and I, we met at Loyola Marymount, and then we rented a house in Venice and had a revolving door of various other roommates. At one point, I think there were 6 people living in this 3-bedroom house. It was craziness. And then after we graduated from school, we moved to a different house, and this is where the Blue Party was, in Culver City. And we lived there for a big chunk.
That you had the roommate Maria?
Mm-hmm. My friend Maria.
So
Maria
I did visit that house once.
Oh, yeah. That was a cool
I met Maria
house.
one time. I'm like, oh. Okay.
That's Maria.
And then you moved to a different house. I'm like, where's that roommate? You're like, that's not how houses work. Oh, I don't understand.
I don't know where she is. I would love to know what's up with her, but I've lost track of her. Anyway, so yeah, from the Culver City house, while I was living there, that's when I started working at Fox and met Eric and ended up getting married. And that was my other party. See, there you go. I have connected it back to the second great party, this wedding, which actually was not
It's the end-all be-all of parties for you.
Just, I mean, what a Katherine move to be like, I don't know if I want to spend a ton of money on this wedding, so let's have a brunch wedding on a Sunday that happens to also be the beginning of daylight savings, so everyone has to be reminded to set their clocks forward so they don't miss it. Forward, back. Forward.
Look, whatever. I think
Spring forward.
hard for you not to remember all those complications, but I think for everybody else, it's just, it was a good wedding. Great job.
Oh, see, perfect. Good. Yeah. I mean, it was just definitely, I had very clear motivations of trying to keep it not horrendously expensive.
Whatever. You had it at a beautiful park, and then you had, peanut butter filled brunch, French toast. It was great.
It was
did
great. Yeah, it was great.
Everyone's like, we're thinking this whole brunch thing is a good call, because then you got right into the wedded bliss evening. No, like, we got to wait till tomorrow.
Well,
no,
the other move
off you go.
was...
See you later. Have a good time.
The other move with brunch was then the only alcohol I have to serve is champagne. So it was just like everybody could drink mimosas and that's good enough. Ba-ba-ba.
Very good job.
Well, I do remember just recently going through pictures, and it reminded me, you, John, were very little at our wedding. I mean, I can't remember how old, but you seemed very small. And then Ed, you had brought some friends. I forget who came with you. And at one point, this was during the era when you would get those little Polaroid cameras and you put them on the table.
Not as a novelty, because those were the cameras you would use. There weren't phone cameras.
They were correct. This was like, in addition to your photographer roaming around and taking candids, everybody was supposed to just pick up the camera and take
Use
pictures.
the disposable Kodak camera. Grab a moment.
And in very Katherine style, I put one on every table. And at one point I was like, no one's using these cameras. What? I feel like I'm not getting enough pictures from these cameras.
Bridezilla over here.
Well,
Jeez.
I mean, obviously. It's funny because I don't think of it as being like, I was just trying to get my money's worth. I paid for these stupid
I'm
cameras.
sure you got your money's worth.
No, look, it's just you were organizing it, so of course it's hard to forget about these kind of details and not get wound up in the moment. So
For
yes.
sure. Well, the upshot of that is at some point later as things were not winding down, but I had realized ooh, a lot of this has passed. I need to get people to take pictures. And I came to you, Ed, and you had some friends with you. And I was like, take some pictures with these cameras.
Go grab the available cameras and run out the film on all of them, taking pictures of everything. So would you get some chairs and the back of our hands?
Oh,
and
you guys
some
went
up our
on
noses and stuff.
No,
What
you
do we
went.
get?
You went on a little adventure safari, and you were climbing rocks and taking pictures of each other, hiding behind this statue and peeking out. It was
I fully have this recorded in my. No, I have no memory of this whatsoever. What did we do?
Oh my God! I will have to show you the pictures. They are hysterical because, of course, I got them back, and I was like, "Did I pay for these to be developed?" And they are just
You got your money's worth. It's fantastic.
Oh, it did actually.
We could have used some direction. Thanks.
Oh, well, yeah. I didn't make it clear that I was like, no, take pictures of people and this event. No, go play and just document that.
I've paid for these cameras. What am I going to do? Develop the 4 pictures on it? Go burn the other 24 pictures doing whatever. We will.
Yeah,
100%.
nailed
you want
it.
Pictures of our shoelaces? Yes. We're doing
It was
that.
hysterical. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, that was a very funny little, having younger brothers, you just kind of forget that you're like.
So I have a different question.
Yeah,
So-
what? Go.
Well, okay. So you had you and Eric, I think. When did you move back to the Valley? Because I did not visit. I think we all visited one time when you guys were in Culver City, or wherever. But then
Yep.
you moved back to the Valley. When was that?
So Eric and we met when I was living in that Culver City house, but then we had an apartment or a condo. We rented a place in Santa Monica, and we lived there for maybe 2 years, I think.
Santa Monica. That's very suspect. You were not in Santa Monica.
Yeah, we were on Centinela, just off of, I forget what. But
So wait, all right, 2 years and then what?
Then, see, this was like why, I might get in trouble. Even, I mean, it's old news now, living in sin. But yeah, we weren't even engaged or anything. We just like moved in together and then got engaged. Well, did we get engaged? And then we bought a house in the valley. So somehow and then got married. So we bought the house and were engaged and got married after we moved to the valley, I think is how it all went down. I can't remember.
I definitely remember the house in the valley because, I don't know why I would end up at your house randomly for hours, but that would happen. Be like, oh, apparently I'm with my sister and Eric for a while, and we're going to play some computer games, and I don't know what we're going to do. Sounds
you did?
Good.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, for sure.
It was almost an unspoken experience. Like, I don't remember Eric saying this or putting it in any context whatsoever, but he opted into two little brothers. He was like, these guys are cool. Let's do stuff. You want to come over and play video games? I have a great computer. I will give you Coke and salsa and chips, and you will have a good time. We're like, yes, I will.
Coke to drink. Let's just...
Coca-Cola. Sorry. I will give you a beverage and snacks because I'm a great uncle. And you're like, yeah, into
that's
it.
Very
Let's
sweet. Oh my God, I don't even remember that at all.
And then occasionally that would be like coupled with, in my experience, hey, I got to go do blank whatever. There's a cable guy coming that needs to be here for 5 hours, but I don't want to leave him at the house alone. Here's $40. I'm like, what is happening? I get to play video games. I'm drinking as much soda and having as much chips and salsa as I could possibly stuff inside myself. And I'm getting money? This
is great.
This is great.
Oh
Catherine married a good one.
Yeah, I didn't get that happened for me later in life. But I will say those couches did last a very long time. Sadly, I think they're now
finally cycled out of the family.
Yeah, we did. We bought a set of couches that got like moved around to various people, had different pieces for a long time. You guys had
20 plus years easily.
You guys had them for a while. And okay, so when you lived together in Venice.
No. Tell me from the beginning.
Oh my God, you're the worst.
Hey, you know what? I just realized that between you were about to touch on John.
Again, let me just say, those couches were a deal. That was partly why we got them. It was 3 pieces. It was like was it 3?
It was a love seat.
It was a love seat and a love and ottoman, and it was like a big chair or a love seat and an ottoman that was the same size, and then a couch, and it was like some like off-white with a little bit of a print of and yeah.
But it was like a textured print. It was a patterned whatever.
Like a raised,
yes.
Yeah, like raised diamonds or something. I forget what it was. No?
No, it was not diamonds. I don't know.
Okay.
It was an Argyle pattern. No, we don't know.
Oh my God. Those couches made the rounds for many, many years. That's hysterical. I had forgotten all about them, of course, but whatever.
We were just about to touch on another living situation where John and I had lived together. You were about to say, when you guys lived together in Venice?
Yes.
Wait,
Yes.
Hold on a second. You've lived in Venice and Santa Monica. Mm-hmm. I've lived in Venice and West LA, Santa Monica adjacent. Mom and Dad's first house was in West LA, Santa Monica, or where exactly was that? I feel like
the Rose Avenue house.
Yeah, so there's hold on a second. Didn't we have we've had a whole other life on the other side of the hill?
Yeah.
Really set ourselves up in the valley, but there's a whole other set of no. If we can live out of the valley, we do.
Yeah, the first 5 kids were born in Santa Monica area. Yeah, I think there was a house before the Rose Avenue house.
Oh, and then Mom also way back grown up and lived in Santa Monica, went to Santa Monica High School.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I know she lived in Pacific Palisades for a while. They had a double lot, and her dad sold half of the lot, or I forget how that. We'll have to have her back in to talk about all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've lived a couple of different places. But then, Eric and I moved back out because there was a little bit of time where we weren't sure where we were going to move to and, buy a house, and just it seemed very natural to progress back out here. It was easier to be like, well, let's go towards my family. And I think we've been in 5 different houses around this sort of area of the valley. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yep. Before we talk about you two living together, because I want to go down a little bit of a memory lane on that. Ed, you lived with Eric and I.
That's true.
It's not that I forget about it, but it's it's one of those things.
It was a short, brief.
How long was it?
It was only a year. Because you had put a time limit on it, and unbeknownst to me, there was a reason for that time limit. You were trying to get pregnant and have your first kid. And
Right.
so it was like, get out of our
Yeah.
house.
Well, you were out before Sarah was born, for sure. I remember
No,
that.
and that was it. It was like I graduated college. I needed someplace to live because mom's house was like a little bit cramped at that time that summer. And you're like, well, we just moved in. We got this spare room. I'm like, done, deal. What's the rent? How much? And also, I need a car to get to work. Eric's like, well,
yeah.
I'm going to upgrade my car. How about I not sell this? So he had held on to a 4-speed 94 Civic.
Oh, that white Honda Civic. That was his first big purchase car. Yeah, I remember that. Okay, so when did you, because I remember you finished college, and oh, wait, before you even finished college, on one of your breaks, you came into Fox, because I had been there for like, I don't know.
A year before.
Yeah, I had already been there
graduated,
a bunch of years.
You had talked to and gotten permission to bring me into the office and introduce me to the head of the graphics department, which seemed to line up with what I was going to school for.
Yeah, just to come in and like meet him and talk to him
just see
and whatever.
what a real, television production looks like in a news studio, and see all of how the equipment works and all of that. So
right, just as a teeny bit of backstory, I got a job at Fox 11, the local Fox station. I think my second year out of school. I had done some freelance stuff and some other stuff, and then realized like, oh, you know what never ends? The news. Why don't I try and get a job on the news? And I was still interested in writing and directing and all that, but I had obviously learned how to edit. So I figured, well, that's a good job to like take these skills and like whatever. So I had started at Fox and had been there, I think at that point, I don't know, 5-6 years. I ended up being there a total of 18, which is a crazy long time.
yeah,
Before
it's
I
a really long time.
went and did other things. But
How long were you at the old weird off the 101 office? Because it wasn't there. It was at the one in Bundy. And I feel like that had been a couple years. at the
yeah,
old
they had
office.
moved. I mean, we were in the Hollywood building, which is now torn down into school, I think. It used to have like a
the
weird sculpture
art
on the.
If there's any fans of the old school 101 art sculptures off the side, you're like, what is that weird like set of scaffolding that's on the side of that building? Oh, that's an art sculpture.
I don't know how many years, but I was there for a bunch of years. Then they moved. Ironically, just as we were moving out of the apartment in Santa Monica, they moved to Santa Monica, and then we moved to the Valley. So just when I could have had a no commute, I had a different big commute. So
That's Los Angeles for you.
yeah, well, whatever. So I remember bringing you in to meet, I forget his name, Juan, maybe?
Juan Jones.
Juan Jones, right. Bringing you in to meet him. Then you went back to school. And then when you got out of school, did you come and meet with him or what?
Well, part of it was we introduced it that year before I graduated. And so he's like, so you're like at your junior year? What are you doing? I'm like, well, and I listed off some of the software that we were getting access to at the school that I was at, Savannah College of Art and Design. They were right up in there with the most recent relevant software.
That's so useful. That's good.
That conversation turned into, well, when would you be able to come back? And I'm like, well, my school has the month of December off. That's how our quarter system works. We're just off before Thanksgiving. Don't come back till New Year's. He's like, you want to come in? Katherine, can I get a ride with you every day for the month of December?
Did we do that?
Then I got on payroll there. So I officially started work at KTTV back in the 90s, like the late 90s, but it wasn't like after graduation of college. And then I started, like, no, I actually had credits for stuff I animated for them from that month that was used on air for the next 6 months.
Oh, wow. Crazy. Yeah.
Then came back to a job waiting for me because the guy that could do 3D graphics had left. And there I am going, yeah, those 3D graphics that I did for you, I could still do that.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't remember how that all went down. I do remember, because I don't remember how long you were there. Maybe I should just stop
like 3 or
saying
4
I don't
years.
remember because it's ridiculous. But
Well, I think we know what the episode title is going to be.
Shut up.
Katherine Doesn't Remember.
When I was pregnant with Sarah, I was working for the promotions department. So I had started in news, and then I ended up working on Good Day LA for a bunch of years.
That
and then
edit suite that you worked in for the promotions department was the best.
Oh, it was huge and
it was
fantastic.
$1 million suite.
Well,
right?
Because also it had that huge switcher. It was like, a state-of-the-art at the time switcher, and just was a giant piece of equipment.
It's a standard def linear bay.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you still had to pay premium dollar to get a really good switcher and make it look like real television.
Yeah.
And that's what you were
and
doing.
it was a big physical space. It was a big room. It was a great bay. But I remember being pregnant with Sarah, and you would like bring me food and like come check on me. It was very
Good
cute.
burger.
Yeah.
Get you a turkey burger.
Oh yeah, I ate a
Stuff.
lot of
and
Good Burgers.
Cafe
Is a
50s.
Yeah, both of those places were close enough to the Santa Monica KTTV office that you would like go out on a break and bring it back for me, because I was on like a later shift. I started at 3 or 3:30 or something. And
Yeah,
then worked into
there's
the
a good
evening.
period where we were both working. I was working nighttime news, so I was in at 3, and you were working late promotions, so you were in late
It's
as
same-
well.
yeah, mhm.
And I think it worked out great because we were at a local station, so you'd get lots of satellite feeds, so we could watch a lot of Buffy,
Oh yeah, I was watching early feeds of Buffy. I remember that now.
Buffy
Yeah.
and Angel, or
Was Veronica Mars also like that
and
era?
I totally didn't
can't
watch
remember.
that at that time, but yeah, you had a bunch of other, like, you had a system at
Yeah,
work.
we had a lot
It was
of-
basically you had a DVR, but you were a tape operator, so
Oh my God, that's hysterical. That's true. We had a whole rack in the
Dub
other
rack.
room.
Oh, yeah.
So I would just dial in whatever thing I needed to record. And, I'm recording it on Beta, not Beta Max, Beta,
Right.
the like professional tape at that time. And, I had all these tapes that were recycled that weren't good enough quality to use for like real broadcast anymore, because they would have dropouts and look shitty and whatever. Be like, no, this is now one of Catherine's many things to record various shows. And then I would watch them back at double speed. I'd be like, put them in a one of the,
That
good
is-
playback machines and play them at double speed.
that is the serious missing feature set from all these streaming platforms is playback at 1.5 times speed, but don't pitch it up, please.
No, that's not acceptable for podcasts, audiobooks, or television. Sorry.
I agree. But at the time when you're trying to absorb as much as you can, play back a little faster.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can still very much 125, 1.5 for sure. That's, I'm not going to say which shows, but there are some shows on Netflix, they're pacing. I'm like, oh, you're getting a 1.5. I can't. I don't even mind if you're pitched up a little bit and a little buzzy sounding. I can't at your normal pace. This is too slow.
Well, that's what we've learned. Some of us are into the details, some of us are into the story. I can
Yeah,
hear
I
the
need
story
just- yeah,
faster.
I just need-
can't see the setting any faster.
I've already absorbed how cool this shot looks. Let's
Moving on.
Come on, let's go. Anyway, that was a really cool time when you and I worked at the same place together. But now, okay, let's transition to
Check that. You're right. That was a really cool time. We were working on local TV news, so not necessarily the coolest content, topic, subject matter, but
I
like
just-
a cool
yeah.
time. You've worked on really cool stuff since then, and we haven't worked together, but like you've worked on American Idol, and So You Think You Can Dance, and huge national news shows. So at the time, working on local news with you was like, this is awesome to be working with my sibling. However, doing these over-the-shoulder news graphics is the worst.
but also like sometimes you just need a job. But definitely what I'm saying is working in a place with you was really kind of a fun time.
Yeah.
Not many people have that experience where you're like, my brother is down one floor, like, and he's going
You
to
need
come
some
bring me dinner.
graphics?
Yeah.
You're going to have to put a request in. I'm busy.
But it would just made me think of like you guys work together, but there's a weird little progression to get to that, right? So how did that
Now-
go exactly?
Wait, before John and I worked together,
Yeah.
didn't Eric leave KTTV and start someplace else? Because I could swear I was still at KTTV at Fox.
Wait, in
And-
case we
ahead.
didn't exactly set up, that Eric and I met at work. He was a field producer on Good Day LA, and that's how we met. So we knew each other from work. So yes, he
So-
did leave. Go on.
You worked with your husband first. Then I worked with you at the same place while he was there. Then he left,
Ah, okay.
right? So then while I was still there, I'm remembering Joe Millionaire was on, and I think John was working for that at that time because Eric had been working for the production. I don't have the details. I want to give that to John. But I just remember it was very confusing to me working at the local Fox station affiliate asking, hey, can we get the logo for Joe Millionaire in high quality so that we can use it for our graphics? And they're like, no.
No,
It's a different thing. That's Fox Corporate. You're a local station. We don't care about
we
you.
don't care about you.
Oh.
You just happen to be in the
That's
same
cool.
city. Like that.
And then, some contact with John of like, can I get the logo in high quality? No. Well, great.
well,
thanks.
stop wanting to make it better. All right, go
Well,
on.
funnily enough, just to finish that story, what it points out is that frequently, so I was at the production company and we had our own set of graphics, which were not the set of graphics that Fox actually used on their channel. and therefore in their promotions and whatnot. So anyway, yes, that's where I was. I was at the production company, and that was my second show, but it was very early. I had just left college to do that. But that had been because Eric, Katherine's husband, worked at a couple places and then was now at this place. And he had been there actually for a little while, maybe a year or two. And I had actually joined him the winter previous.
What production company was that?
It was Rocket Science Laboratories.
Oh, right. Rocket Science. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
so just to remember the order of shows, what do you think was the show before? Was that Temptation Island or was that
Temptation Island 2.
Temptation Island 2.
So Eric was on that show, and I came, that happened to time out with a winter break, and it was like, well, you want to work for a couple of weeks as a PA, and our PA is on vacation or whatever. And it was like, sure, okay. So I did that, and then went back to school, and then next winter break, it was sort of similar, and I was like, well, I'm not going to go back to school, and then it was like, well, do you want to work? The show now is Joe Millionaire, which I don't know. We weren't using that name at that moment. I was there right before it started airing, shortly. So while it was still, completely unknown at that moment.
It had a different production name or whatever.
Sure. I don't think I can remember, sadly. Ooh, I don't know. Many names are running through my head. I'm now not sure which one it was. But anyway, yeah. So then I started to work with Eric, your husband, for a long time. Although in the end, it was probably only 3 years.
That
felt like a long time.
That's a long time.
Because it was also, for us, it was slightly different because it was show by show.
Sure.
And so, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's sort of like school in a way of semesters or I don't know, something. It just feels very different than like, just every day, all the days, unless you take a vacation.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting way to think of it. Like, it's all the same classmates, but this quarter, it's a new teacher and a new class that we're in. This is weird. Okay,
and there was
great.
a break in between.
And we're doing something different now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a different mindset. And especially because then it's not that you're not committed, but you're not trying to set yourself up forever, and then that's also the way we're approaching it as a company. Because then while Eric was there, I got a couple promotions and whatever. And then after Eric left and was somewhere else, then I was there for a little bit longer without him, I believe. And then I ended up at a different place and they got a couple more promotions. So then it was like, well, now I'm setting up this temporary office with, card tables and whatnot, as opposed to permanent desks. Oh, some permanent desks, maybe, if we happen to have them. But yeah, so then, another couple years later, we had an opening where I was working and it was like, well, Ed, do you want to come over here? So he did.
That's how that happened. I didn't remember who was where, when, and how you guys ended up together at the same place.
There's, all three of us in parallel working at different companies, doing different shows and different kinds of post-production for, I don't know, probably 8 years. And a little bit of like, I need a job. Do you have any contacts? Like, yeah, I have someone that you could call. And I got one or two of those reach outs from that. But then it was John's like, hey, we got a spot open and we're doing a lot of stuff. Come on in. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's try it out. And I got to work on a lot of productions of that company.
Yeah, although it's funny. So just to cut back for a second. So while with Eric, what ended up happening was like, sort of had a different relationship. Now we're working together. And as I'm growing up a little bit, we would go out to lunch a lot.
God, that's so funny. I don't even think of that, but yeah.
It also, to be honest, is what started the Sunday TV watching.
Oh, really?
Yep, because it was, sort of the HBO Sunday or whatever. And just, I would go over it other days after work, but Sunday ended up being one of the more regular days. Although actually...
Which I think was mostly because, was Deadwood on Sunday? Is that what happened?
In some ways, that Sunday was an evolution because frequently, I don't know why it always worked out, but Katherine, you might remember something, maybe. But frequently, the shows we would end up doing would air on Fox on Monday. So we would be late night into Sunday, still doing that show, still working on that episode, and
Oh.
So actually, Sundays came a little bit later, but it was part of going over to your house to watch TV.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that was kind of what was an evolution of my relationship with you and Eric.
Yeah, because that's kind of our current situation where you come over on Sunday nights, unless there's like some family event or whatever, and watch TV and have dinner, and it's a very regular thing. And it's been going on for, years, before the kids were born, really.
Almost, not really. It was after Sarah, kind of or even probably after Adam, because I definitely remember Adam still being, under 1 year old.
Yes, because I definitely remember. Well, okay, then you're right, because I do remember. I don't know why Deadwood is such a oof.
It was right there, right at the beginning. I mean, there was, I think, maybe a season of Sopranos before that, but it was right there at the beginning for that time.
Yeah, and then
probably multiple seasons of it, so it really locks that in. It's like, we did that every Sunday for 2 years.
Well, and unfortunately, it's one of the shows that you petered out on.
Yeah, I watched in the beginning, and then I was like, I don't need this.
So yeah, it became emblematic of he's coming over for a show that I don't want to watch, but apparently other people want to watch.
Yeah.
Well, and at the time, I would imagine, John and I haven't really ever delved into, the old CW shows, but that's kind of when we're talking about that 10-year range where just past you and I working together and recording things that were on the CW. Yeah, that was still kind of your jam, those shows. So you and John have found a new spot, but that early 2000s CW stuff, I don't think that was your stuff, John. I don't think you were jamming on Angel.
Yes, but not with you guys. It was really, it's hard to remember, but I do feel like it really was related to HBO and partially Sunday. And there were other things, but it was the stuff we would watch together or whatever, which somehow those type of shows didn't fall into that category for whatever reason.
How funny. And am I misremembering? Did you and Eric go and see a lot of movies together too? Just random?
Yeah, that was one of the carryovers from when I was younger, because that was something that Eric was into, and I, sure, you want to take me somewhere? You want to take me to a movie? Sounds great. So, I continued to like movies, so then we continued to go to movies. That doesn't quite fit at, because nighttime, you got to be home, so we can't be out watching a movie. And it doesn't exactly...
you guys do now. You'll occasionally go see, not now, but
Yes, now, but on the other hand, it's usually an afternoon type situation.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
It's not usually the night screening, but the other thing was, so less while we were... it was during the time while we worked together as well. But again, that was a carryover that was already happening, separate from the new evolution of, whatever. Now we're going to watch TV together.
Got it.
And definitely the full crossover that we have yet to actually bring up and save it for the pod, right?
Uh-huh.
Thought of it during the pod, so couldn't have wasted it before the pod. Audiobooks. I'm listening to all of us talk about how our connection is really through watching stuff together and going and experiencing these stories being told, right? So a huge component in the last 20 years of the three of us is we have shared audiobooks. Catherine, you're dyslexic, so you need the audiobooks.
Love it.
There's some performances that John and I have that guy reading that, we got to listen to everything he did.
Well, it's an interesting, because yes, Catherine was the one who blazed the trail, because otherwise I was not paying attention to it.
Yeah, you're a big reader.
Sure, but it was like, oh well, then I don't need it or whatever. I'll just read it, as opposed to listen to it. But just then specific ones, or I don't know. It ended up. It's not everyone, because you actually listen to a ton, but then some you would recommend, and it was like, oh, well, yes, now this is something we're paying attention to, and you're passing along, and Ed is also, so it was the three of us, oh, yes, we are, those specific books really like listening to.
Sci-fi authors, and I'm sorry to interject,
no, go ahead.
But jumping all the way back to buying the Harry Potter discs on CD, then sharing them between the two of us at KTTV. I remember when they were coming out, there was big news stories, and then we were buying them, and to be able to did the two of us. I still have
did you ever? I had the cassette tapes as well. Yeah, at least of the first couple books, and then later the CDs.
Sorry, no cassette tapes in my history. Only one actually. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the radio series.
Oh, the
tape.
BBC,
But yeah, I don't think I had a tape player in any of my cars. Not by choice. I had one car that was a very old Honda. I've had 5 Hondas. Whatever. Anyways, that one had a tape deck. But the first car, the one that we talked about earlier that Eric gave me, CD player, no tape deck.
I do remember listening to, discovering sort of by accident, Terry Pratchett, which is hysterical because there's so much. But what I would do is I would just go to the library and just like stand in front of the wall of like audio books and be like, I don't know, I've heard of this, I haven't heard of it, like just grab things. And I listened to The Thief of Time, and it was so out of order. If anybody knows Terry Pratchett, it's like not near the beginning necessarily. It's just, and I didn't understand that it was part of a whole world that he had built. But I do remember talking to you about it, John, and being like, oh my God, do you know this Terry Pratchett? He is like amazing and hilarious. And I just listened to this book and it's the greatest. And I think I bought you for one of your birthdays, like, here's a Terry Pratchett book because you can read. Enjoy.
Yeah, I slightly contest. I'm not sure if Thief of Time was your first Terry Pratchett.
Oh, no, it absolutely was.
Okay, if you say so. But it's an interesting way to experience a book because you might know about an author and want to do it, and it's a very different experience because reading it, okay, your imagination is filling in the blanks and you're enjoying it or whatever. And especially a humorous story like Terry Pratchett can really come to life slightly more when you're listening to it.
Yeah, and I mean, I do remember specifically that it was Thief of Time because the reading of it was so funny, and I remember being like, who is this dude? And then I also thought, am I supposed to know who any of these characters are? What is happening?
Well, I do. That's interesting because I do remember Thief of Time, and I did feel like that Terry Pratchett and this universe that these set of books are in, I feel like there's a lot of standalone ones that don't have a ton of crossover.
Correct.
And so I feel like this is one. So there's only very few references that you should have known or something. It's mostly standalone.
For sure. But I didn't understand that at the time because Thief of Time is very standalone, except for Ankh-Morpork. Like they talk about the city or whatever. And then I thought, oh, are these characters going to be in all these other books? No, not really. Yeah, but that was my introduction to Terry Pratchett. And then, of course, we all became very big fans. Were you guys fans of his before? Or
I was slightly aware. I think I had read the first book and been like, okay, and then not gone anywhere with it. So it was one of the names that you knew as like, well, he's a big-time fantasy author. But it's like, well, I have read almost none. Okay.
Yeah. It's easy to kind of skip over things.
I knew about Terry Pratchett a lot earlier than you might have tracked through my best friend from back in the day, Tony Delgado. He read a lot of that stuff, and he definitely had the entire Discworld series at his house when I was like 12 or 13.
Oh, I didn't know that.
To know him. But that comes with, being able to read and being at a level where you absorb all of that. Like John can read a lot. I got bad eyes. It's hard for me to read. So I think I may have picked up Discworld and put it back down.
Well, it's also one of those things where it, for somebody who has not an easy time reading, it's got a lot of made up shit, and it's like sometimes it's hard to follow. You're like, so I
get crossed eyes watching TV, trying to read a book. Woo!
Yeah, I mean, that's the joy of an audiobook. It's like, I don't have to guess what the pronunciation is of this word, like, this made up name, this made up place, this, whatever it is. Like, just gloss over it and do it in a great accent. You're friggin' awesome. But then we got all three of us pretty obsessed with the Tiffany Aching series that he did as like is it 4 books, 5 books within this universe? It's like a little lift out series that he did. Oh my God, it's so good.
The We Free Men.
Yeah, the We Free Men. Mm-hmm.
I did have a question, and this might have to get yoinked if I've got it totally wrong. Is Terry Pratchett one of the co-authors of Good Omens?
That might actually be where I first became aware of him from. Because I did actually I read myself, which was an arduous task, Good Omens, because there was no audiobook available.
Right, exactly.
And somebody had told me about it, and I was like, what? That sounds amazing.
And you gifted that to me, and I remember reading that, because that's like one of the only early books that I put time in on, because it was also akin to Douglas Adams stuff. And that was another one that, like, you introduced me to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Then we kind of like did, what else has he got? And I've read some books of his that we haven't really gone back down that road in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, well, between Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, those are some real winners right there. Love those guys.
Those were the co-authors of Good Omens.
Mm-hmm. I do remember somebody recommending that book to me, and it had to be like, early 90s or whatever. Mm-hmm. And going out and buying it, and then the most arduous, I don't even know how long it took me, and I read it and totally enjoyed it. And then it's so funny that I didn't really seek him out. Also, audiobooks were very expensive, and the idea that they would be available at the library was like a revelation. And then I would just listen to anything that the library had. I was like, well, I'm not going to buy a $160 audiobook because I'm going to listen to it and then be done.
There's a definitely like a 5-year period where I paid a subscription to get MP3 downloads of audiobooks that then, the subscription was not like a pay, and while you're subscribing, you can keep listening. It was like, you bought these, you pay $10 a month, you get 2 book credits. Sometimes the book is 3 credits. Shoot. I can't get that. But yeah, I downloaded a lot of audiobooks through that service, and that was one of the ways that like we kept, passing back and forth, like hanging out together.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like, yeah, here's 30 hours of hanging out without me. But I've already spent that 30 hours. So it'll be like we hung out together for that 30 hours.
In the same way that I love to talk about TV that I've watched and love to talk about movies that I've watched, it's like, yeah, I want people to listen to or read, if they can, the books that I've just listened to because I want to talk about them. They're so good or frustrating or whatever.
Okay, one last sidetrack. Jim Dale.
Oh, God. The Jim Dale versions of Harry Potter were so good.
Just like actually recognizing, I like the way he reads stuff. I'm going to track down other things that he's read. I've listened to a couple other audiobooks that he's just the reader of. I don't know who this is from. I don't know anything about the series. Jim Dale read it, so it's probably good. I'm going to listen.
I'm in. But John, didn't you do the British version, right?
Yeah, strangely enough, Harry Potter, so the American version is read by Jim Dale, an English person, but the British version, or the English version of Harry Potter is read by Stephen Fry, a different person who's also an English person. So I was like, well, I guess I want to listen to that too.
Yeah, I remember you listening to both. Now, a little controversial. Did you have a preference? I thought you liked the Stephen Fry version more, right?
Yes, whatever. Yes, that's true.
I have a question for you about that. Do you have any sense of the storytelling position? Do you feel like Stephen Fry stayed as Stephen Fry? Because I feel like I never knew Jim Dale, and before he read those audiobooks, I didn't get a Jim Dale-ness from him. I got the Harry Potter universe. Like, he made himself a character for each of the characters, played into it, had a flavor or style. I just haven't listened to the Stephen Fry, and having watched his stuff.
Not a neutral narrator.
I wonder if he's less of a neutral narrator.
He does not go as far into voices. But, voices are an interesting one because, nobody ends up doing it perfect. So, not to be critical, but it's like, well, nothing. And I don't have a problem. I like it. I'm, separate from this fact. I do continue to listen to audiobooks, but what I really do is I have a set of 20, and then I just listen to those 20 on repeat.
Does it include Butler from...
you're thinking of Artemis Fowl.
Yeah, the Artemis Fowl series.
Oh, God, the Artemis Fowl books were so good.
They are very good, but, then they switch narrators.
Which I did not like.
But whatever. Unfortunately not. It does not include that.
All right. I had to...
But anyway, yeah. So I feel like Stephen Fry he doesn't go into voices as much, and I still like what he's doing.
There's different styles of audiobook reading for sure. There's more of just like a flavor that they're giving each character, and then there's like Jim Dale where he was like, oh no, I'm going to do a character voice for each one of these.
Performance.
Yeah. Yeah. He did an amazing job. Okay. Oh my God, that was a whole audiobook tangent.
You're welcome.
But also, that is part of what we actually talk about, and part of what makes us have things to share and, each other and do things together. And one of them is audiobooks. It's funny
the thread between the audiobooks that I was trying to draw a line from and all of the other stuff that we mentioned is we love storytelling. So we're interested in stories being told to us, and we're also finding our spot where we're going to tell some stories. So it's both things speak to me to why we have this dynamic. What this dynamic is that we love those things because that's the stuff that we want to do. That's why we're passionate about all these authors and all these, performers and the series and the movies that we've been paying attention to for years and years, even working in the industry, it all leads back to or lends itself towards what are we trying to do together now? We're trying to do the stuff that we've been paying attention to, those things. We're trying to be the next Terry Pratchett's, maybe not that level, but
I don't think anyone else can be Terry Pratchett.
It's Turtles All the Way Down.
Oh. Now, currently, you guys do like a Friday night pizza thing, right? Like that's one of your, like, I mean, I think of our Sunday night dinners, John and our family, and then you guys do like a Friday pizza thing. It's just interesting to like, I don't think about this that often, but that each one of my siblings has a different thing going with a different sibling. Like, it's even funny to think about, like, what is John like when he's over at Rosemary's? Like, what is that like? What is Eddie like when he's just hanging out with, John having pizza? Like, what? It's a different vibe. It's a different thing.
Or just hearing like, oh yeah, you would have obviously been hanging out with Liz and Eric while I was at college for 4 years and not around. Sure, they were available. There were people that you would do stuff with. Okay. Then there's clearly things that you've done in movies that you've seen with them that I don't know anything about. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Same vibe back.
Now, what do you do on your pizza nights? Do you guys watch TV or movies, or what's your plan?
Well, in some ways, the evolution of that, I think, because we'd been seeing movies together forever.
Sure.
And, that was kind of part of, as we both became adults but weren't living together, it was kind of a way to, hang out. Was like, okay, let's go see a movie, or we'll go watch a movie at your apartment or whatever. And then even when we lived together, that was kind of a main crossover. Worked and then lived together is actually the order.
Right.
But
I don't think we talked about the living together so much.
But in the end, it was like, well, we made an effort to watch a movie together. That's what we would do.
As far as living together, we both worked 60-plus hour week jobs. So if we did anything outside of just being in the same office building for like 3 years straight, at home, it was like, do you want to watch a movie? Okay, good night. Also, bye.
Yeah.
There's no more time.
So it was, there wasn't a ton of other things happening. But yes, we definitely would still make that effort. And whether we were going to see a movie or watching a movie, where we lived, that was a big piece of it. So then now the thing that it kind of grew out of the pandemic a little bit and, stay at home was, all right, maybe what if we watch something at home together and like, oh, well, Fridays, and like there used to be a long time ago, there was a Friday pizza thing. So it's like, well, what if it's Fridays? And then it could even be TV was a new revelation. So
it's also
being.
And in the same conceit that we're not watching like broadcast TV. We're watching a lot of the streaming services.
Sure.
And lots of great movies, but it's when an entire series drops, you're like, well, we haven't watched that. We can burn a movie's worth of time with 3 episodes. And that is very satisfying to get 3 episodes in.
Yeah, 3 episodes is a good chunk.
Yeah, well, I mean, streaming definitely helped that, because before it was like, well, what did you collect those episodes on your DVR? But then you collected the whole season before you started? No, nobody was doing that. So, yeah, it was just a different atmosphere. And then now with, you have a whole season, so you're not limited to a single episode. So that's worked out well.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, of course, between the variety of shows, there is also a variety of pizzas. All the different places that you can go, and we're going to try stuff out, and then I'm not going there again, and they're coming back every other week because they got the good stuff. Yeah, so we have feelings and opinions about the pizza as well as the content that we're watching.
Well, I think it's interesting because it feels like, particularly in this big family, you almost have to make a specific effort or, like plan to keep up with everybody. I mean, definitely I'm like one of the worst of just letting people fall through the cracks and be like, what? I haven't seen Virginia in like a month. What? Oh, okay. Whoops. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And some people have more of like an ongoing thing that keeps them in each other's lives, and then some not so much.
Well, it's tough because I think in some ways what our normal calendar or schedule was like, there was maybe 2 family events a month almost.
Yeah.
And then they got ramped up in recent years to where it was like, oh, no, there's definitely at least 2 things. So you were seeing people frequently. Then there was a slight pause in all of that with stay at home and whatnot. So it's kind of accentuated where it's like, well, now wait a minute, that's uncovering that I wasn't seeking these people out, specifically or singly.
Separately. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you were covering that ground mostly anyway. But then, then there was still room to then do things, separate from that or in small groups. So it's funny because it ends up being similar to any, friendship or whatever dynamic, and yes, because we have a big family, there's much more people. So it's not like, oh, well, if I see my one brother, I'm done. It's like, no, there's more.
There's so
more
many more. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
a lot to cover.
It was a lot easier when the general events that you opted into as a family member filled in the patchwork blanket of contact with every single person. Now you're like, oh, I haven't been to that patch in a while. I gotta go visit that patch and see what's up with that.
Yeah, I'm not doing as well. Yeah, as well as I was earlier in the pandemic, where I had like a rotating walk schedule where I would see people almost weekly for a walk. So like Rosemary was not getting as many, but Ginny was on a weekly, Mom was on a weekly, Ed, you were on a weekly, separate from even seeing you at all of our Knack meetings and other stuff like that. Like, and then John and I were seeing you on Sundays. It's like I was doing pretty good, and then I don't know what happened. I kind of like lost all my momentum.
Well, it's tough because as things got slightly more regular, if not actually normal, some of that fell away. And you're like, well, now I'm sort of seeing them in other ways and busy in different ways.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. It was about a year ago when you started having really bad reactions to the bug bites.
Oh my
and
God,
basically
that
your
was
husband's
ridiculous.
like, you can't go outside anymore. And I was like, well, that's it for the walks, I guess.
Oh God.
You know what?
Yeah.
Your new office, why don't you have 2 treadmills? Dang it. Genius move. You know what? I'll bring over rollerblades and I'll just stand next to you on the treadmill.
Oh my God. That's hysterical. I hate mosquitoes so much. They are the friggin' worst. Oh, Jesus. Okay, we should wrap this up. You guys have been a delight, and thank you for letting me talk your ear off about being your older sister and not even realizing that.
We don't have a choice.
Anyway, thank you all for listening, and please subscribe and like or comment and review. Give us 5 stars, please. And we also have a Patreon, so you could check that out. And all of our social handles, including the Patreon, Family DynamiKs with a K. Thanks.
Thanks for listening.